All right.
All right. You want me to start?
I think we are good to start.
Hey,
Looks
hey,
like
boys.
everybody
Hello.
is present.
Okay. Well, the Lakefront Parks and Natural Areas Committee of the Park District of Highland Park is called to order on Tuesday, January 11, 2022 at 5:00 p.m. Pursuant to Section 7E of the Open Meetings Act, the President of the Board of Park Commissioners has made a finding that it is not practical or prudent to hold in-person meetings because of the COVID-19 public health emergency. Neither the elected officials nor the public will be allowed to attend regular committee meetings in person, but will participate virtually. Links to the virtual meeting can be found on the Park District website. Roxanne, can you please call the roll? Roxanne.
See, Commissioner Bernstein.
Would you like me to call the roll?
Present.
Got it. Commissioner Bernstein.
Here.
Commissioner Freeman.
Here.
Commissioner Kaplan.
Here.
Vice President Grossberg.
Here.
And President Ruttenberg.
I am here.
Thank you, Roxanne.
welcome.
Executive Director Romes, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are none from staff now.
Okay. Executive Director Romes, is there anyone from the public attending tonight's meeting?
There are 9 attendees.
Okay, great. If anyone is wishing to speak, they will need to use the raised hand function in Zoom to indicate that they would like to speak. The board secretary or someone else will call on registrants who have activated the raised hand feature in alphabetical order. Director Romes may have to handle that today. So are we going to start with our Park Avenue boat ramp presentation?
Well, do you want to just go right? We can go right into public comment if there's anybody
Got it.
who wants
Got
to.
it. Yes, I would like to do that right now. So if anybody, do we have anybody with a raised hand?
Okay. You know what? Hopefully Roxanne can see. My screen is not allowing me to show right now, but is anybody from the public wishing to speak for public comment? I don't see any hand raised. Roxanne, do you see any hand raised at this point?
There are 2 hands raised.
Okay. If you can see them, could you call them in alphabetical order, please?
Yes, the first one is Kathy McRae.
Okay. We
Okay,
can let
thank you,
Kathy into the
Kathy.
meeting.
So,
Okay.
hi, this is Kathy. Can you see me? I don't know. I just logged onto your system for the first
We
time.
can see your name and a raised hand, but we do not see you.
You don't see me? Oh my God, that's so sad. Well, you're gonna
It
have
is
to, well, you can just listen to me. I don't know if this is the time, as I said, I just put up my hand, but I'm here as a member of the yacht club to discuss the ongoing fundraising, et cetera. I just have a few things to say. I don't know if you have anybody that should go before me.
No, this is your time. You're on the agenda and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks to all of you. My name is Kathy Katz-McRae, and I've been working on the fundraising for the Breakwater boat ramp. And I mean, I guess the first thing I'll say, Brian, Liz isn't on the call, but everybody involved at the Park District has been incredibly supportive. And I guess the best news is that we are just about there in terms of fundraising at the $300,000. I think all of you know we had the $150,000 match, so that certainly helped. But I would anticipate in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably be way above that number. So I think that's great news. And thanks to everybody for all of your help. I think the piece about on the flip side on that, this fundraising activity has given me the opportunity to speak with hundreds of people from Highland Park. I myself, I'm actually 4th generation Highland Park. I own a business that's been headquartered in Highland Park for the past 20 something years. I now live in River Woods, Illinois, to be a little bit further away from my mom, who's still in Highland Park, along with most of our family. But I have deep roots in Highland Park, and I have deep roots at the beaches here. I learned to swim there. I had a little red tag on my bathing suit. And most of my life, the foundation of my life is Highland Park, Illinois, the Twin Pools, Sunset Day Camp, which was super fabulous. I don't know if you still have camp there, but it's a great camp. And in fact, that park we call Papa's Park. We call it after my father, who passed away because of all the time we spent there with him. So kind of going back to this fundraising, talking to people, I think the biggest trick here is the power boaters. I'm not a power boater. I'm on the board of the North Shore Yacht Club. I'm the director of stand-up paddling. But there are a lot of power boaters that over the past year have gone and made other options because the boat ramp is not working. And I think the biggest concern in terms of like getting these people to agree to the loyalty program is, what are they going to do for 2020? I mean, really, boat season is, I don't know, 4 months or so away. And if they had the ability to get in the water, I think it would make it a lot more appealing. Just personally not knowing that much about power boating, but I know about people. And if they have another option again this year, if they're in Wilmette or Lake Forest, I'm guessing they're going to end up staying there because people get comfortable with whatever it is they're doing. The second piece around that, being the director of stand-up paddle, is just from a safety perspective. We see it all the time. And it really concerns me that there's going to be no way for people to get out on that water and get out there fast if that ramp is not operable. So I think the members of the committee, myself, whatever we can do to come up with something to get that ramp working this year. I believe, and I'm guessing based on my experience in Highland Park, that you agree that it is in the best interest of the entire community, Highland Park and beyond, because so many people come to the lakefront. I mean, along with, we see the fire department there doing their drills. And I'd really like to know that if my loved ones are out there, that we have the ability to get to them quickly. So, I think that's really what we have. That on the fundraising side, that's going really, really well. As I said, I think we've gotten donations from well over 100, 150 people, from the amounts of like $20 down up to $20,000. People have been incredibly generous for something that they didn't anticipate. We're just calling them out of the blue, asking for money because it means so much to them. That piece, I really feel like we have a good handle on, but I think that loyalty program, in order to get people to sign up for it, we need to make some sort of guarantee that they're going to have the ability to get their boats out there. Otherwise, they'll go elsewhere. And I don't think it's good for the community or for this program. That's what I got for you guys.
Well, thank you very much, Kathy. We really appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on issues that are on the agenda?
There is. So the next speaker is going to be Golan Moore.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
We can. We cannot see you, but we can hear you.
All right. I met with I met on Zoom with Brian and Jeff Smith almost a year ago. I'm on the board with the Highland Lakes Homeowners Association with regards to the Rory Deutsch Park, and I just wanted to comment to see if by any chance, I don't know if there's other members from our association on the call, but wanted to see if that could possibly be moved up in the agenda if there are other members. If not, I'm happy to wait until the agenda item comes up. And is there opportunity, once that you reach that agenda item, is there opportunity for comments from the public, or is now our only chance?
There's another chance at the end of the meeting. So this is not the only time. I don't mind if we move it up. Executive Director Rome's thoughts?
No, as long as there's no opposition from other board members, there's no issue with moving that up. And just to clarify, there is no recommendation or will there be any motion or any approval of an item on the agenda? It's just an update, but I want to make sure that was clear, and certainly no objection from staff. So if there's no objection from the board, then certainly.
Okay, so why don't we, was that all you wanted to say, Mr. Moore?
No, other than I do thank the Park District for working with our association on coming into a resolution. I understand with the condition of the equipment that we're getting to a point where a decision is going to have to be made by the Park District. But I do appreciate the Park District's approach in reaching out to our association. We have an interest in keeping it as a park. We've had several young families move into the neighborhood, and the Todd Park has certainly been an attraction to the neighborhood, and to lose it would certainly be disappointing to a large contingent of our community. So, you know, I appreciate that the dialogue has been open, and I hope that continues and that we have time to prepare our bids. I guess I will say one of the pieces of information that we'll need is that if the Park District decides to move on with replacement or repairing of any of the equipment, I've reached out to private park maintenance companies, and one of the questions is the manufacturer of the equipment. If it's a manufacturer that's compatible with some of these service companies, that will determine who and how much it would cost the association should we bear the expense of maintaining the equipment. And then the other question that I'd like to find out is whether or not the Park District would do the maintenance, and if it was something that the homeowners could then compensate the Park District to do. You know, we just need to look at all the options, whether or not it continues with the Park District doing the maintenance or whether it goes private. We just want to get all of our information so that, and part of that is knowing the models of the manufacturers of the equipment.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Director Smith or Executive Director Romes to get some information from you so that they can answer those questions offline here for you. Is that okay? Mr. Moore?
Yes.
That work? Okay, so we're going to try to have them contact you or you contact them, and they can provide you some of the answers that you need. And if there's no, I'm sorry, go ahead. Is there anybody else from the public that is ready to speak?
No one else has their hand raised.
Okay, so if it's okay with the rest of the board, can we move up the tot lot discussion to before the Park Avenue? And Director Smith, if you're ready to present that.
Oh, you're still muted, Jeff.
Thanks. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. Just give me a quick moment. All right, can everyone see the presentation there? Perfect. All right. So just a little more background on David Deutsch Park tot lot. This was a tot lot that was installed in 2001, thanks in part to a donation from the Deutsch family. The property itself is owned by the Highland Lakes Property Owners Association, and the property is maintained, as everyone's aware, by the Park District. There was originally a 20-year agreement which ended its 20-year term last July. And this topic had been brought to the park board about a year ago, and we discussed this and talked about this idea of the Park District possibly doing some improvements to bring some of the equipment, basically providing a little more life. And then potentially terminating the agreement and donating all the equipment and site improvements that were put in by the Park District to the Property Owners Association. So what we're going to do tonight is just kind of walk through what the Park District is planning to propose, and then we will plan to bring this to the Property Owners Association after we hear feedback from the committee. So as far as the agreement I was mentioning, as I said, the 20-year term ended last July, and then we received consensus from the park board to allow it to automatically renew for 1 year, which gives us time to determine kind of how we want to approach it. So in the meantime, what we've done is looked at the things that we feel need to be improved. And then, like I said, we'll be going to the Property Owners Association. The agreement states that if the Park District were to terminate it, we would be required to return the property to the original state. So you see in this photo here it is. So it's a relatively small site. It's considered a tot lot. So it's primarily the play equipment, which you see here. There's the whole area is fenced in with a white picket fence. And on the right here, you can see at the back end of the park is a gazebo and a patio area. And behind that, there's a retaining wall to hold the site up. The only additional improvement that the district had made at the time that you can't see in these photos is a water fountain that was installed. So per the agreement, if the Park District were to simply terminate the agreement, we would be required to come in, remove all of the play equipment, regrade the site, removing the retaining wall, remove the gazebo, remove the water fountain. So what was discussed last year, both with the board and the homeowners association, was to take hopefully a different approach, which was to make some improvements to the equipment and then consider handing everything over to the homeowners association, and they would maintain it and own everything. So what has staff come up with and what are we recommending? So here's just the existing conditions right now. So we're looking at an aerial of the park. The gazebo we talked about was here. I'll start with these. These are swings. These swings are in need of replacement relatively soon. So we would like to replace these swings. We also have the main play feature here, and there's some small components in that we would like to update, which I'll talk about in a moment. There's a sand play area here. We're not recommending any changes here. However, these three pieces of equipment, this little playhouse, and this spring toy and this spring toy, we are recommending changes to those. So here's our proposed improvements. So replacement of the two spring toys, and then replacement of the house with an identical house, but a brand new one. And then the swings we talked about, we would like to do a complete replacement of the swings with a new swing set. Then the safety surfacing throughout the park is a kind of a mulch that's called FIBAR, and we would like to remove and replace that entire area. There's a lot of weeds in there, so we'd like to come in and do some somewhat significant work trying to get most of those weeds out and then replace all the surfacing. And then lastly, we have the main play structure. There are some components on there that we are recommending updating. So if you see here, I'll start here on my right. Some are smaller things, but these are just things to keep the play structure safe. We've got some brackets here on this post we determined it should be replaced. There's also a pool ring here we'd like to replace. This transfer platform, which is the steps up and the handrails, we would like to have that entire portion replaced. There's a guardrail in the back, which is starting to show some wear and some rust. We'd like to replace that. The slide here is in very good condition. However, there are some support brackets under the slides that we would like to replace. And then a little more on the aesthetic side, and maybe a little more noticeable with the bubble here, we would like to replace that. And then all of the decking, it's tough to see in this photo right here. So I'll show you right here. This is all of the surfacing you walk on throughout the play structure. So down at the bottom, in the middle, and the top, you can see here all the decking is starting to rust and wear away. So we'd like to do a complete replacement of all of the decking as well. This is an itemized budget showing the cost for everything. What we're proposing at this time is that the majority of the work would be done in-house by Park District staff. The replacement of the FIBAR, also the replacement of most of the play equipment components. The only thing that we are recommending be done by a contractor would be the removal and reinstallation of the swing set. And so that brings us to a total of $31,654. Now, when we had discussed this previously, there was a question about, while not recommended, if the park district had went the route per the agreement and simply restored the site, what would that generally cost? And so we did speak to a couple of contractors, and we have a ballpark figure of about $50,000 it would cost to do that. So as far as next steps, here's the proposed project schedule. So this was this evening, sharing with this committee tonight, kind of our plans and hoping to receive consensus. If we do, then we'll immediately be reaching out to the Highland Lakes Property Owners Association again and sharing this plan directly with them and having some discussions similar as the gentleman earlier this evening had discussed. We'll certainly be talking about the possibility, if we go forward with this, what it may cost, and if it's possible for the park district to maybe offer maintenance. We'll also be able to provide them with all of the manufacturers on the play equipment and kind of just discuss how this would work. And then we've started to work with the Park District Legal Counsel on drafting a termination and donation agreement. So from February to March, we see that being the time where we are working through that agreement and finalizing it. And then we would aim between April and June to make the improvements and then hopefully have it completed by July. I will say, however, so everyone's aware, with a lot of supply chain issues, there are some significant lead times on some play equipment. So there might be some flexibility in that schedule and also working with the park district staff's availability. But nonetheless, our goal is to have all that work completed this year. So that's all I had to present. I'm happy to take any questions.
Terry, you're still muted.
President Ruttenberg, are you still on the Zoom? Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Bernstein, any questions?
No, I have a comment if this is the proper time.
Yeah.
It's up to the chair. I want to really applaud and staff for thinking out of the box with regard to this project. I know when this was first brought to us a little over a year ago, there was my recollection, Jeff, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a significant cost attributed to renovating this park, which provided sticker shock not only to the park district, but also to the homeowners association. So I truly appreciate the effort that has gone into by our staff to bring the cost of the renovation down to a reasonable amount, actually less than what our obligations are under the existing agreement, and then preserve and basically maintain and extend the useful life of this park for many, many years to come. So I appreciate all the effort. I wholeheartedly support this effort, and anything I can do to assist, I'm making myself available. So Jeff and Brian Rome's very, very good job. Great job. Thank you for doing this. And I hope the rest of my fellow commissioners also support this project.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kaplan.
Jeff, thank you. I'm going to be a little bit shorter than Cal. I'm supporting it. My vote today is to move forward with it.
Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner Freeman. Commissioner Freeman. Is she still on?
Oh, she dropped off and she just logged back on.
Okay, let's just wait a second. Oh, well, I guess I can go. Yeah, no, I'm this looks like a great win-win solution here. Commissioner Freeman, any comments or questions?
No questions, but thank you. This looks good.
Okay, thank you, Director Smith. And anything else on
Do
this?
we have to give Jeff direction?
What is the next step here?
No, I feel that I have that direction. My next step is going to be for staff to reach out to the Property Owners Association and start discussions with them. And like I said, provide detailed information on what we're recommending.
Okay, great, fantastic. All right, so let's move on back, if we could, to the Park Avenue Temporary Boat Ramp Repair Project update, easy for me to say, Director Smith, you're still on.
Yes, I am trying to juggle my Zoom here and figure out how to, oh, there it is. Okay, I got to switch my share. So just give me one quick moment. Or actually, this is Park Avenue, so I don't have anything to share for this one. All right, so the Park Avenue temporary boat ramp repair. So as the committee is aware, there was a failure in the concrete ramp sometime back earlier this year, which forced the ramp to close and stopped all power boating at the site. Since then, Park District has looked into numerous options for repair to get it up and running. In the end, we brought on Weiss, Janney, and Elsner Associates to develop engineering documents that would allow us to safely open the launch. So just to clarify, this effort I'm discussing right now is completely separate from the breakwater and boat ramp replacement, where Smith Group is working with the district to develop construction documents for that. The larger replacement project, those construction documents should be completed this week, and we're hoping to get that bid out as early as next week. That project, if approved, construction is proposed to begin right after Labor Day. So with that said, the idea behind this temporary fix is to make a repair to the launch that makes it usable for power boating from Memorial Day of this year through Labor Day of this year. That's the window we're aiming for. So I just want to report that the bid for this temporary repair was released on January 4th, and we did hold a pre-bid meeting yesterday, and I'm happy to report that we had 9 contractors interested in the project. We'll be receiving our bids next Monday, and I'm sorry, Tuesday, January 18th, and then we will be reporting the results to the Finance Committee on Thursday, January 20th. And are there any questions?
I am not muted. Okay, I do have a quick question. Do we know what it takes? I'm sure we do know, and you probably don't have it at your fingertips. Do you know what it takes to run the boating facility on a typical summer from Memorial Day to Labor Day?
Is that a question regarding cost or staffing? I would say I'd probably direct the response to Director Carr.
Okay. So I actually don't expect him to have the answer at his fingertips, like I said, but I think it would be interesting to learn what the typical cost is of a summer, and then find out what it would cost this summer with having to build this, because it is just a 1 year, 1 season fix. So Director Carr, anything to add to that?
I could get you the information, Terry, and provide it at a later date if that's okay.
Yeah, and actually, what we plan to do is when we bring the cost from the bid results, we'll also be able to share at that time kind of this information so we can compare the two and look at the cost benefit.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's going to be a direct correlation with both revenues and expenses if the decision is to move forward or not move forward. And then there'll be some indirect potential effects as well based on what we do. So we'll kind of try and give that information to the board before the meeting and then present it at the meeting, at the finance meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Freeman, anything to add or any questions?
No questions.
Okay, Commissioner Kaplan.
Yeah, Jeff, a couple things. One, Jeff, do we have any idea what range we're looking at for the temporary fix?
Yeah, the engineers that we're working with had said that they felt it would be probably around the $35,000, maybe $40,000 range. We also reached out to a separate contractor that we've worked with, and he took a brief look at it and felt it would be that at a minimum. And so that's why we moved forward with the bid, where at this point, honestly, we're not necessarily recommending the work because we don't know the cost, but we felt.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Because what I'm trying to figure out is Terry brought up an interesting point. But wouldn't the cost to run Park Avenue be the same? We just be adding on the temporary work? We're not taking anything back in cost.
It would be more of a revenue loss, so there would be no, so you're right, the cost would be the same and there'd be no revenue because nobody would be launching.
Okay, I understand that. All right. I was just curious. All right, thank you, guys.
Commissioner Bernstein.
No questions or comments.
Okay, thanks. Anything else on this?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to just stay with Moraine Park since you're on right now, or is there a big reason to go
let's
to
do it.
Millard? Okay, let's do Moraine Park, then we'll come back to Director Voss for Millard. So Moraine Park, I'm very interested to hear this.
All right, I'm going to share my screen again. All right, can everyone see the Moraine Park presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to try to keep this brief, but I will give a little bit of a background, seeing that it's been some time. I believe it was back in fall whenever we discussed this with the board. So Daniel Craney Company was hired by the Park District to develop construction documents for this repair. And as we had discussed at our last presentation last year, the preferred option was to build a boardwalk that would go over the path area. It would obviously make it accessible now, but it was also a way to help prevent future failures and closures at that site. So just a quick reminder, this yellow path is the path. We've got the parking lot here, and then we have our beach section here. And so this is the path that runs alongside the ravine. This blue little guy here, this represents the wooden stairs that go down. Right after that, we have a bridge that goes over the ravine. And the ravine crosses here, and then it runs parallel with the path the rest of the way. And then once you get into the path, a portion of the path has some stone steps. So within there, you have a few areas where there were failures. There is one failure immediately after the bridge, before the stone steps. We also have a couple small failures here, here. And then we had the, oops, I went too far there. The largest failure there. So in the work we've done with Daniel Craney Company, we're looking to address three things. And like I said, this is a little bit of a summary of what we talked about before, obviously the path repair, but we're looking at this a little more holistically and doing what we can to prevent future failures. So we're also looking at drainage improvements up top and some improvements down there, some steel walls along the ravine, and doing some improvements there. So Daniel Craney Company is just finalizing the construction documents. At this time, we're working with them on that. And we'll be able to hopefully get this bid out relatively soon. One of those things in the documents are these steel walls. So you can see there's significant gap between the slope and the end of the wall here. This needs to be filled. It's not really doing much work. So what would happen? It's a little tough to see, but here, this is the path. And then right here is one of those steel walls. We're proposing to do backfilling of stone in here, some smaller stone. And then on this steel wall as well. And then also on either end, there's larger stone and also some protection here. As the current comes through, it can come through here and it can wash out all of this. That's what happened over time. It was filled in the past, but it's washed out. So that adds more protection. It helps to stabilize the slope. So that'll happen in all of those areas. And as I had mentioned, there's also some drainage improvements. So there's the steel wall we were talking about. Here's the path. Up on the top of the bluff, this would be done by hand because getting equipment up here is nearly impossible. So it's somewhat modest work, but it will berm this area up Then we're going to add some small drains here. And then we'll do some underground boring where these drains will connect to a pipe that runs below the slope underground, and then it runs under the path, and then it'll discharge into the ravine, and it will help to bring water from top. Some of the challenges we've had with the bluff is runoff down the bluff that has caused the failures. Then lastly is the path repair. As I had mentioned, we are going with a boardwalk route, and you can see here, it's a boardwalk with a handrail on either side. This represents the slope. So the way the boardwalk is going to be installed, we have these helical piles, which will be drilled into the ground, which will support the boardwalk. And we also have in some areas where they will come in at an anchor at an angle and anchor the boardwalk in through the slope. Now, the style of the boardwalk will be very similar to the new overlook at Skokie River Woods in the preserve. And this is a photo of that right here. So it'll be similar handrail style and similar with the wire mesh along the sides. Obviously, it won't be this wide though. And as far as the path repair goes, here's that photo we saw earlier. This was the bridge. And once you come off the bridge, we had a failure. We had the wooden stairs, the stone stairs, and then we had more failures. So we're looking at this time, we're looking at a continual boardwalk from this point all the way to this other bracket right here, which means that it will be a boardwalk here, and then it'll stay the same wooden material, but it will stair step down over this area, and then it'll bring you down here. And then there'll be a small stair step down here to come to the grade of the rest of the path. So as far as cost, part of what Daniel Craney Company did was provided us an opinion of probable construction cost. So they are saying right now that it's likely that this construction as described would be $443,067. Now, as typical, we like to add a contingency there. So including a 10% contingency, we're at the $487,374. And currently in the 2022 capital budget for this work, we have $485,000. As far as our proposed project schedule, we'd like to release this bid sometime in February, and with the goal of awarding the bid, seeking board approval at the March 22nd board meeting. Then we would begin construction in May. If the conditions are right, we may be able to begin sooner. It really has to do with how wet it is. This is a difficult project with this site access, and if it's very wet, it would be difficult. So we're aiming more for the end of spring and most likely the summer months, which then hopefully would bring us to a July completion. However, that could shift based on weather. Now, I will point out that there are a couple of items that we are looking to do that have been budgeted for this year at this site. So once this is completed, we won't be able to immediately open the dog beach and pedestrian beach. Two things, we have large wooden stairs at the very start of the path that I showed in one photo. Those are due for some improvements which we'll be making after this project. And then we had also discussed doing some improvements to the beach itself to make it a little more friendly and usable for both dog owners and visitors who just want to enjoy the beach and don't have a dog. So one thing we are looking into is possibly a fence that kind of divides sections of the beach off. So those two projects would occur after the July completion of this. And that's all I have to present on this. I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, Commissioner Bernstein.
Yes, I have one question and a comment. Jeff, it's been a while since we've looked at this. Can you, and I noticed you mentioned there's steps. Have we done anything to create the ability for accessibility to this path, or is it just going to be unassessed? It's not going to be able to use by handicapped people.
It's not accessible. It's not ADA accessible, unfortunately.
Okay. And then my comment would be mainly to Liz. This, out of all the projects that we have in the pipeline, I get the most questions about this one. Is there somehow we can message and get this out along with other projects that we plan on undertaking this year? At least get it on the website where some people can call me, that it's easily acceptable on the website where they can just note, so I can direct them to that.
Yeah, and I can respond to that. So we have a little bit of information, but after this presentation, and if we kind of receive the consensus to proceed, then we can easily post some of these timelines and our plans on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Commissioner Kaplan,
I'm good. Thank you, Jeff.
Commissioner Freeman.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have been a huge proponent of this for a long time. I think it's just been a shame that we've lost access to a beach, and then we have a beach, and I know that there are people that are roughing it and going down there anyways, and I haven't done that, and I'm so happy to see that we're very close to breaking ground on this. You mentioned something about the beach itself, and that was going to be my first question. What is the condition of the beach compared to, say, Millard or Park Avenue?
The beach is not very large. It just, like, similar to our other properties, it has certainly been impacted by higher lake levels. And also, there is a little bit of work that we will have to do in-house. With not having access to that beach, we haven't been able to do, the regular maintenance over time, including moving some down trees. So that'll also be some of the things that we'd be doing after this project's completed.
And I do, like Commissioner Bernstein said, I do get a ton of questions about Millard. Moraine. And a lot of questions are about the old bridge. What, I don't know, just what's that looking like, and are we keeping it there, and et cetera?
Yeah, so it's completely separate from the path that is open for people to go down to. There are some very old stone steps that you could go off on a beaten, kind of off the beaten path and go down there, but that we're not touching that at all. But that's certainly not an area that people could safely access the beach from. But it does remain, and it won't be impacted as part of this project.
And finally, I heard you talking about this beach divider. With the size of the beach shrinking, I don't know if I'm in love with the idea of dividing that up. I have a dog. It's not very big to begin with. So I'd like to hear what those plans are before we dive into that, because my dog gets very suspicious when there's people down there without dogs. He's just like, hey, this is the dog beach. What's going on? So I'd be very interested to hear what the plans are for that, and a little concerned about that.
All right, thanks.
So,
yeah, we can easily bring the plans for that project to this committee as well in the future.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else on Moraine? Okay, thanks very much. I think you're maybe off the hook for a while here. And let's go to Millard Bluff tree removal bid and Director Voss.
Good evening. Let me get my screen up here. So this is just a quick update, no action needed or anything. So I'm one screen too far already. So reminder that back on August 24th at the board meeting, we had V3 came to the board and discussed some of the erosion, and had a bluff analysis and presented some options that we could move forward with to try to do what we can to keep the bluff from eroding any further, and what we can do to restabilize it, and all that kind of good stuff. And then at the Parks and Natural Areas Committee meeting on September 30th, I believe it was, Rebecca Grill and I discussed some of those recommendations and what we wanted to move forward with. So the recommendations were all based off of the V3 recommendations, and here's a list of them here. Some of the first things we wanted to do was the tree removal, which is number 3 right there, listed. And then at that Parks and Natural Areas Committee meeting, we presented a little action plan that we're working on to what we can do to take all those recommendations and how we can move those forward. So first up, as I just said, is this tree removal on the bluff. there are a lot of trees, and one of the big reasons that we have issues is once a tree falls, it uproots and you get that big crater left behind from the root ball, and that just is a pocket for water to sit in, and just more erosion can happen from there. So getting the weight of those trees off is a key step to trying to prevent some further erosion. So from that, we have worked with V3 for some engineering plans. We had to do some permitting with the city for tree removals, and we are also having to work with the Army Corps. We're still waiting for that permit because the access for the removals would happen on the beach down below itself. So we have planned for a winter, early spring removal. We released a bid last Tuesday on January 4th. And we had a pre-bid meeting this past Friday on January 7th. We did have 4 companies show up, and the bids are due back this coming Friday on the 14th. So no action right now, just an update on where we're at with this bid removal process. I will say that we are the 4 contractors that we did. It was a mandatory pre-bid meeting. There was we got some interesting feedback, some hesitation from couple of the other ones were okay with it. So I honestly, I'm not sure what to expect at this on the bid opening on Friday and what we're going to come in with. We have budgeted in capital about $100,000 is what we have more. We have 200 and I'm sorry, I did not have that number in front of me, but we have over 200,000 in capital for both tree removal and slope regrading. 100,000 is what we had earmarked for the tree removal. So I will know more on Friday, and then the hope and the goal is if everything turns out well with the bid removal at the Finance Committee meeting on the 20th, I will do another quick update and hopefully be able to put an approval on the board meeting for January. And that's all I got. Any questions?
Commissioner Freeman.
No questions for me.
Okay, Commissioner Kaplan.
Nope, no questions. Thank you, Dan.
Commissioner Bernstein.
No questions or comments.
I just have a very brief, and it has more to do with the bluff, I guess, is the as you exit, I guess, or about to enter the garden part, there are those 2, I guess I'm going to call them lily ponds. And do you know what I'm referring to?
I think so, yes. Just north of the garden. If you're actually in the garden north, yes.
Exactly. And I'm just wondering, for the last, I'd say 3 years, there has been no water in those. Now, I don't know if that was a naturally occurring pond. It certainly looks like it was carved out at one point and planted, but it used to consistently have water in it. But is it because of less than usual water reaching there or water seeping out of there? Do you know anything about that?
That it's never filled. It's never manually filled. It's just just nature doing its thing. So I'll be honest with you, I had not noticed. I did notice this past summer that there wasn't really much in there. We had much drier summer, but I had not correlated it with anything in the past. So I can I'll ask our natural areas manager Rebecca if she's got a little bit more insight, but I don't have anything more than the observations that you have as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been more than a year. That is definitely the park and beach that I frequent the most often.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm just much more sensitive to changes there. The other question I had is about the hut that apparently had some sort of fire damage last year. Is there any update on that?
So that is part of the overall project. So we have an estimate of what it would cost to rebuild, and then an estimate of what it would cost to basically remove the top half and leave the stone below. So the plan is to pull it down, everything from about 5 foot up, because and again, sorry, I do not have those numbers in front of me, but it was significant cost to it was over 10,000 if I remember correctly to rebuild it, where we could have it torn down for 2,500 estimate if I going off memory. It's not used for anything. It at one point when there was water, when the building was below at the very bottom, there was the water service ran to the garden and ran all the way down to that building that was down in the parking lot. When the building was torn down, the water was shut off. So when the water was shut off, that all kind of was in the hut there. There was a few random tools, that staff would have in there when just doing a little bit of work, but otherwise it doesn't serve any purpose. And we did not find it's not part of any historical preservation, anything to it. So that is the plan as of right now, is just that it's been a fire hazard for, that's the wrong term. It's not the first fire. There's been some other little ones in there, and it's a graffiti haven. People break into the door there. It's been a constant struggle. So it hasn't really offered much other than an annoyance, and it's not pleasant to look at.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just very intimately aware of all the little changes up there, going up there so often. Okay, I really appreciate it. Thanks. Anything else on Millard?
Not for me.
Okay, great. Do we have any other business, Director Romes?
There is no other business.
Okay, we are open to the public to address the board. Executive Director Romes. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the board?
Again, there are still 5 attendees. I cannot see the hand raised, so I don't know if.
All right, Roxanne or Dan?
Roxanne, does anybody have their hand raised?
Yes, Chad Birkin.
Okay, so Chad.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, how are you doing?
Okay, good. Hope you're all well, and thank you for your time, of course. Just a little addendum to our discussion about Park Avenue temporary repairs to the ramp. I believe the Park District incurred some cost because they've been selling launch permits for this coming season. And I believe if the ramp is not available, then there'll be a cost to send people to Winnetka. Is that correct, Brian Romes?
We haven't worked out an agreement with Winnetka at this point, but I can certainly follow up with additional information, Chad.
So that is a potential liability and cost that wasn't mentioned previously. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chad. Dan, is there anybody else that wants to speak today?
Yes, David Sogan's next.
Okay, there's David. Unmute yourself. The floor is yours. You there, David? Okay.
Did you raise your hand?
Good, you're in. David, can you hear me? David Sogan.
There's 2 Davids on here. Maybe he should.
David Sogan.
Let me add the other one too.
Oh, look at that.
There's 2 Davids logged in. The same.
I'm muting myself. Okay.
There you go.
Now I should be able to be heard.
We can hear you.
I am encouraged that the estimates for the temporary repairs on $35,000 range. I think that's very achievable and affordable for the Park Avenue Beach, given that last year it was running $54,000 favorable. But more importantly, I want to really emphasize that as the Power Board communities work to sell the loyalty program, it's very important for for them to feel that the park district really has their back and is going to make it possible for them to use the ramp. And of course, there's all the other arguments you've heard in the past in terms of the yacht club usage of that ramp and the need, especially when the sand ramp gets washed out. And I know that we need to have a discussion of what do we really do about the sand ramp and to deal with the frequent washing out and to look at other solutions. And I hope that can be also a joint exercise between the boating community and the North Shore Yacht Club and the maintenance folks in the park district, who I think are, do a terrific job down there.
Thank you. Okay, Dan, anybody else?
Yes, we have Mindy next.
Oh, great. Thank you. It's
Hi.
great to have you here. Hello, Mindy.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I just, my husband Russ and I, we spoke with Brian Romes yesterday, and I believe it was Jeff. And we just wanted to thank you all for the consideration about the Rory David Deutsch tot lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, yeah,
Appreciate
no,
your consideration.
okay. Well, thank you. Well, you're welcome. Right. Anything else you would like to say on the matter? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Dan, is there anybody else who'd like to speak publicly?
Yes, it's the other David Sogan who's logged in right now with his name.
So Golan Moore spoke about the part thing.
I got a text from Cal.
Okay. The other David Sogan, is this Junior? No, okay. I'm going to assume that it's the same David Sogan who already spoke. Perhaps his lovely wife was on there too. David?
Are you gonna unmute though?
No, you're good. I can hear you now. Mrs. Sogan.
You might have to log out of these. Okay, open. Okay.
You are live. David Sogan is live. Okay. Perhaps we should move past this.
I think we're okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else other than the other David Sogan that would like to speak tonight? Dan, anybody else?
That is it.
All right. Excellent. So we will not be going into closed session tonight. So is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. So the meeting will be adjourned at 5:58 p.m. I'd like to thank everybody for participating tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You want to, we'll resume the workshop. You want to say in 5 minutes, or you want to go right into it? We're adjourned from this meeting, so we are still live, but we can take a recess for 5 minutes or whatever you want to do.
We're missing our fearless leader. Where's Barney?
Yeah. Why don't we
I'm
take
taking 5 minutes, guys.
All right, we're taking 5 minutes. Let's start it up.